Oh, some people questioned my sanity when they found out that I'd got a second allotment. So I just wanted to explain what I want to do with this allotment and why I got a second allotment. Firstly, why did I get a second allotment? I need more space than is available on one plot. With the plans that I had for growing crops on this plot, there wasn't enough room left for all the perennials and fruit that I needed. I put some berries on my porridge every morning when they're in season, or a spoonful of stewed rhubarb when fresh fruit isn't available. For example, 1 or 2 rhubarb plants would give you a reasonable picking during the summer. But if you want to have early forced rhubarb and a good supply of stored stewed rhubarb through the winter, you need more than one plant. Strawberries are another example. A bed of them will give you a reasonable supply, but we want to have a bowl of them every day from mid-May to October. This means that we need lots of earlies and lates, plus a large number of everbeares to ensure a constant supply. If your aim is to be reasonably self-sufficient in fruit and vegetables, you need a reasonable amount of growing space. This is even more critical if you want to grow more perennials to save on work, which typically gives a lower yield for the same space than intensively growing annuals. For example, a bed of asparagus will take little effort and give you a harvest for about 2 months, but nothing for the rest of the year. You could keep growing and harvesting lots of lettuce throughout the year in the same space, but that involves a lot more work. I'm trying to go towards growing more perennials and making life easier for myself. Secondly, what is the process of getting a second allotment? We use the terms plot and allotment, which really mean the same thing. A person is allotted a plot of land to use for cultivation, so it can be called an allotment or a plot. The rules vary, but the way it works here is that a person who already has a plot can apply to become a co-worker on another plot with the existing plot holder. If the plot holder wants to give it up, then the co-worker can apply to become the plot holder, so long as there is no one on the waiting list that has been waiting longer than the time that the co-worker has been a co-worker on that plot. Thirdly, why did I get this allotment? I wasn't looking at getting a second allotment just yet, and had planned to finish my first plot before looking for another one. I had considered contacting the lady that had the plot next to mine and becoming a co-worker on there, as she had been struggling to maintain it and hadn't come to the plot for months. The opportunity to take on this plot came along, and I decided to take it for a number of reasons. Normally plots get neglected and overrun with weeds before they are given up, but this one was in a reasonable shape. Some weeds, but nothing I couldn't handle. I eat lots of fruit, and this one already had some established fruit bushes and a nice apple tree, which was what I needed. It also had a nice greenhouse and shed, so I could start growing in the greenhouse and not spend time and money on building a greenhouse or a polytunnel from scratch. It was also in a nicer neighbourhood, and I already knew some of the neighbours. The plots on this lane are open and everyone has low hedges, so it feels brighter and more welcoming just walking down the lane to the plot. Whereas on the other plot, everyone has high hedges and it feels more claustrophobic. One downside was that it was 200 metres from my other allotment, and I need to buy a few everyday tools so that I have one for each plot. But it does give me a chance to get away to another plot if there is a nuisance, such as a bonfire or noisy neighbours on one of the plots. It also gives me the option of having backups of important crops by planting some on one plot and some on another. This way, if a pest or disease destroys my crop on one plot, I could still have some from the other plot. And finally, what are my plans for the second allotment? Initially, I will have to go between the two plots, which are 200 metres away, to get things organised. I intend to arrange things so that I only need to visit one plot or the other on each visit to the site, so that I'm not wasting time running between them. My plan is to have the first plot as a main allotment for the crops that need little attention, so I could visit this plot once or twice a week and harvest and maintain it. For example, rhubarb needs very little attention other than an application of manure in winter, and can also be harvested at any time during the season. Other things such as beans and courgettes need more frequent harvesting and attention. The greenhouses and cold frames will also require frequent watering, so it's better to put these things on one plot which I can visit every 2 or 3 days. This will be the frequent plot. I've already mentioned my plans for splitting some crops across the plots to have redundancy. For example, main crop potatoes will be planted on the main allotment as they will go in the ground and only need watering during long dry periods. Second earlies will be planted in large tubs and need frequent watering, so they will go on the frequent plot. I will also add a fruit cage and more fruit on this plot to give a good crop of various fruits throughout the growing season. Well, that was a long talking video. In the next video, we'll go back to Mount Rubbishmore on my first allotment and we'll unearth some more treasures. So goodbye for now and come back soon.